It's 7 a.m. The coffee isn't even done, and your stomach is already in free fall. You're staring at your phone, and your thumb is hovering over the keyboard, halfway through a rambling message that begins with the word sorry. Sorry, that was a lot. Sorry, ignore me. But look back at last night. Nothing actually went wrong. You shared a real fear, or an old memory you usually keep sealed. At the time, it felt like relief, like a door swinging open after years of being painted shut. The other person listened. They stayed. When the conversation goes beautifully and you aren't rejected, the intensity of the morning dread seems logically impossible. Why does the honest version of you feel like a mess you have to clean up before the workday even starts? This cringe has almost nothing to do with what you actually said. It is a physical reaction to the act of saying it. Your panic is proof that you let yourself be seen, and a part of your brain still files being seen under the word danger. Research professor Brené Brown gave this specific wave of shame a name. She called it a vulnerability hangover. Your morning brain will try to confuse this with ordinary regret, but the two functions are distinct. Ordinary regret arrives when an interaction actually goes sideways. You told the wrong person, or you watched their face change in real time and knew it landed badly. That is a real signal that deserves attention. The hangover, however, fires when the disclosure was appropriate, welcomed, and safe. You said something true, and the other person didn't flinch. This feeling bypasses social logic. You are experiencing the physical fallout of exposure, the quiet, terrifying reality of being genuinely known by another person. To understand why this dread hits on a delay, look at the urgent self, the part of the brain that took over last night. It was flooded by an almost physical need to be understood. It shoved aside your cautious instincts because in that moment, connection mattered more than safety. But that urgency burns fast. It's a sprinter. Once the words are out, the plates are cleared, and the room goes quiet, the drive to connect fades. On this graph, connection urgency spikes at night, dropping to 0 by morning. As it falls, the risk assessment self clocks in. It audits your emotional exposure, realizes you shared information that could hurt you, and stamps the file. You took an irreversible risk. The timing of your dread is the mechanical gap between two systems. One reached out on instinct and hope last night, and the other is calculating the cost this morning. As that cost is calculated, you start to replay the conversation in an endless loop. Researchers have found that this mental rewind isn't fueled by general social anxiety. The real engine of the rumination is shame. While anxiety fears that others might judge you, shame confirms that you are defective and that they should judge you. Shame is stickier than anxiety because it doesn't send you looking for reassurance. It sends you into hiding. This internal pressure changes the directive from seeking connection to total withdrawal. You find yourself wanting to disappear before the other person fully realizes what you showed them. A nervous system sense of safety is often shaped by its earliest data. For many, a hand reached out with something tender, vulnerability leads to loss. To keep people from leaving, you learn to stay useful, stay easy, and keep the soft things hidden. In adulthood, this can manifest as rejection sensitivity, the nervous system managing anticipated pain by flinching before a hand is even raised. When you open up and it goes well, a system tuned for rejection doesn't celebrate. It views the connection as a massive threat and begins bracing for the inevitable drop because you did the one thing you were trained never to do. The urge to self-sabotage this morning serves a specific function. You are hearing from a bodyguard hired decades ago, still clocking in for a shift to guard a door that no longer leads anywhere dangerous. Part of you hands the other person a job without telling them, the job of making you feel okay about what you shared. But at 7 a.m., they're still asleep. In that silence, you mistake the absence of reassurance for the presence of judgment. To settle the panic, you have to look at what the feeling is actually made of. You do not get a vulnerability hangover from small talk. You don't wake up sick with shame after discussing the weather or where to park. The intensity of your morning dread serves as a mirror for the emotional risk you took. On this scale, as the depth of the risk increases, the weight of the hangover grows to match it. The feeling of "I ruined everything" is actually a receipt. It is proof that says, "I let myself be brave with another human being." This morning is a training session for your nervous system. If you obey the alarm and send the apology, you teach that 6-year-old bodyguard that it was right all along, that opening up really was a threat. But if you can let the alarm ring without answering it, if you wait out the 48-hour timer, your system gets to run the experiment to the end. It gets to discover in real time that you were seen and the sky did not fall. That is the data that rewrites the rule. Going forward, you let closeness build in steps. Trust earns each new layer before the next is offered. This isn't a wall, it's a pace slow enough that your body can finally learn something new. The morning cringe will fade by tomorrow, but the connection you risked won't. You were never too much. You are someone teaching your own body that being seen doesn't have to be expensive anymore. The part of you that reached across the table and told the truth was right. Let it lead.